I believe this is the first English country house you've stayed at, Miss Worsley.
Yes, Lady Caroline.
You have no country houses, I'm told, in America.
We have not many.
Have you any country? What should we call country?
We have the largest country in the world, Lady Caroline. They used to tell us in school that some of our states were as big as France and England put together.
You must find it very drafty, I should fancy. John, have you got your muffler on? What's the use of my always knitting mufflers for you if you won't wear them?
I am quite warm, Caroline. I assure you.
I think not, John. Well, you couldn't have come to a more charming place than this, though the house is excessively damp. Quite unpardonably damp. Dear Lady Huntington is sometimes a little lax about the people she asks down here. Jane mixes too much. Lord Illingworth, of course, is a man of high distinction. It's a privilege to meet him. And that Member of Parliament, Mr. Kettle...
Kelville, dear. Kelville.
He must be quite respectable. One has never heard his name in the whole course of one's life, which speaks volumes for a man nowadays. But Mrs. Allenby is hardly a very suitable person.
I dislike Mrs. Allenby. I dislike her more than I can say.
I'm not sure that foreigners such as yourself should cultivate likes or dislikes about the people they're invited to meet. Besides, Mrs. Allenby's very well born. She's a niece of Lord Brancaster's. Although it's said she ran away twice before she was married, but you know how unfair people often are. I myself don't believe she ran away more than once.
Mr. Arbuthnot is very charming.
Oh yes, the young man who has a post in a bank. Lady Huntington is most kind in asking him here, and Lord Illingworth seems to have taken quite a fancy to him. I'm not sure, however, that Jane is right in taking him out of his position. Back in my day, one never met anyone in society who worked for their living. It was not considered the thing.
In America, those are the people we respect the most.
I have no doubt of it.
Mr. Arbuthnot is such a beautiful nature. He's so simple, so sincere. He's one of the most beautiful natures I have ever come across. It is a privilege to meet him.
It's not customary in England, Miss Worsley, for a young woman to speak with such enthusiasm of any person of the opposite sex. English women conceal their feelings until after they're married, and they show them then.
Do you in England allow no friendship to exist between a young man and a young woman?
We think it very inadvisable. Jane, I was just saying what a pleasant party you've asked us to meet. You have a wonderful power of selection. It's quite a gift.
Oh, how kind you are, Caroline. Yes, I do think we fit in quite nicely here. And I hope our dear American visitor can bring back pleasant recollections of our English country life. Francis, the cushion there. And get my shawl, the Shetland.
Lady Huntington, I have such good news to tell you. Lord Illingworth offered to make me his secretary.
Oh, secretary! Why, that's brilliant news, dear. It means a brilliant future for you. Oh, your mother will be so delighted. I really must try to get her up here. Do you think she would, Gerald?
Oh, I'm sure she would if she knew Lord Illingworth had made such an offer.
Oh. Then I will write to her immediately.
This is a wonderful opening for a man so young as you are, Mr. Arbuthnot.
It is indeed, Lady Caroline. I trust I shall prove myself worthy of it.
I trust so.
You have not congratulated me yet, Miss Worsley.
Are you very pleased about it?
Of course I am. It means everything to me. Things that were without of reach of hope are within hope's reach now.
Nothing should be out of the reach of hope. Life is a hope.
Well, I fancy, Caroline, that diplomacy is what Lord Illingworth is looking for. I hear he was offered Vienna, but that may not be true.
I don't think that England should be represented abroad by an unmarried man, Jane. It may lead to complications.
Oh, you're too nervous, Caroline, much too nervous. Besides, Lord Illingworth may marry any day now. I was hoping that he would have married Lady Kelso, but he told me that her family was too big. Or maybe it was her feet. I forget which. No, I regret it so. She was born to be an ambassador's wife.
She certainly had a wonderful faculty of remembering people's names, but forgetting their faces.
That's quite natural, Caroline, is it not? Tell Henry to wait for an answer. I've written a line to your dear mother, Gerald, to tell her of your good news.
That is very kind of you, Lady Huntington. Would you like to go for a stroll with me, Miss Worsley?
With pleasure.
I'm pleasantly surprised at Gerald Arbuthnot's good fortune. He's quite the protege of mine. Oh, and Lord Illingworth has offered it without my asking. Nobody likes being asked favors, dear. I remember quite fondly last season that poor Charlotte Pageton made herself quite unpopular one year with that French governess she was offering to everyone.
I saw the governess, Jane. Lady Pageton sent her to me. It was before Eleanor came out. She was far too good looking to be in any respectable household. I don't wonder Lady Pageton was so anxious to get rid of her.
Oh, that explains it.
John, the grass is too damp. You'd better go and put your overshoes on at once.
I am quite comfortable, Caroline. I assure you.
You must allow me to be the best judge of that, John. Pray do as I tell you.
Oh, you spoil him, Caroline. You do indeed. Oh, dears, how is the park? I hear it is well timbered.
The trees are wonderful, Lady Huntington.
Quite wonderful.
But I'm sure that if I stayed in the country for 6 months, I should become so unsophisticated that no one would take the slightest notice of me.
Oh, my dear, that's quite untrue. Why, it was only 2 miles from here in Melthorpe that Lady Belton eloped with Lord Feathersdale. Yes, I remember the occasion perfectly. Poor Lord Belton died 3 days later of joy. Or gout, I forget which. No, but we had a party staying here, and we were all quite invested in the matter.
I think to elope is cowardly. It's running away from danger, and danger has become so rare in modern life.
It is to my understanding that the young women of the present day make it the sole object of their lives to be always playing with fire.
The advantage of playing with fire, Lady Caroline, is that one never even gets singed. It's those that don't play with fire that get burned.
Yes, I see that. It's very, very helpful.
My dear, I don't know how the world would get on with such a theory as that.
The world was made for men and not for women.
Don't say that, Lady Stutfield. We have a much better time than they have. There are so many things forbidden to us that are not forbidden to them.
Yes, that's quite true. I had not thought of that.
Mr. Kendall, have you finished your work for today?
I have finished my writing for today, Lady Huntington. It has been an arduous task. The demands on a public man are very heavy nowadays. Very heavy indeed. And I don't think they're met with accurate recognition.
John, have you got your overshoes on?
Yes, my love.
I think you'd better come over here, John. It's more sheltered.
I am quite comfortable, Caroline.
I think not, John. You'd better sit beside me.
Oh.
And what have you been writing about this morning, Mr. Kelville?
On the usual subject, Lady Stutfield, purity.
Oh, that must be such a very, very interesting thing to write about.
It's the one subject of really national importance nowadays. I propose addressing my constituents on it before Parliament meets. I find the poor classes of this country showing marked desire for a higher ethical standard.
How quite nice of them.
Are you in favor of women taking part in politics, Mr. Kettle?
Kelville, dear. Kelville.
Is the one thing of really I'm sorry. The growing influence of women is the one reassuring thing, Lady Caroline. Women are always on the side of morality, public and private.
It's so very, very gratifying to hear you say that.
Oh yes, the moral qualities in women. I'm afraid, Caroline, that our dear Lord Illingworth does not see the value of our qualities. Not as much as he should.
The world says that Lord Illingworth is very, very wicked.
But what world says that, Lady Stutfield? It must be the next world. This world and I are on excellent terms.
Everyone I know says you are very, very wicked.
It is perfectly monstrous the way people go about nowadays, saying things behind one's back that are absolutely and entirely true.
Do not fret, Lady Stutfield. I have tried to reform him, obviously. No, it would take public opinion, a board of directors, and a paid secretary. Although, you have a paid secretary, don't you, Lord Illingworth? Gerald Arbuthnot has told us of his good fortune. It is really most kind of you.
Oh, don't say that, Lady Huntington. Kind is a dreadful word. I took a great fancy to young Arbuthnot the moment I met him. He'll be of considerable use to something I am foolish enough to think of doing.
He is admirable, isn't he? I'm good friends with his mother. He's currently on a walk with our pretty American. She is pretty, is she not?
far too pretty. These American girls carry off all the good matches. Why can't they just stay in their own country? They're always telling us it's the paradise of women.
It is, Lady Caroline. That is why, like Eve, they are so extremely anxious to get out of it.
Oh, well, who are Miss Worsley's parents?
American women are so wonderfully clever in concealing their parents.
No, Lord Illingworth. Miss Worsley Caroline is an orphan. Her father was a millionaire. Or philanthropist. Or both. I forget which. No, dear, he treated my son quite hospitably when he was visiting Boston. I don't know where Miss Worsley gets her fortune from, though.
I fancy American dry goods.
What are American dry goods?
American novels.
Oh, very singular. Yes. No, I do not know where Miss Worsley gets her fortune from, but I have a great esteem for her. Oh, she dresses exceedingly well. All Americans dress well. They get their clothes from Paris.
They say, Lady Huntington, that when good Americans die, they go to Paris.
And where do bad Americans go?
Oh, they go to America.
I am afraid, Lord Illingworth, you do not appreciate America. It is a very remarkable country, especially considering its youth.
The youth of America is their oldest tradition. It has been going on now for 300 years. To hear them talk, one would imagine they're in their first childhood. As far as civilization goes, they're in their second.
Still, there is a great deal of corruption in American politics. I suppose you allude to that?
I wonder.
Politics are in a bad way everywhere, I hear. Certainly is here. Mr. Cardew is running our country into the ground. I wonder if Mrs. Cardew allows him. Oh, Lord Illingworth, do you agree with the vote of the uneducated?
I believe that they're the only people who should be allowed to vote.
Do you take no sides, then, in modern politics, Lord Illingworth?
One should never take sides in anything, Mr. Kelville. Taking sides is the first step in sincerity, and earnestness follows shortly afterwards. And then the human being becomes a bore. However, the House of Commons does very little harm. You cannot make people good by act of Parliament. That is something.
The House of Commons has shown a great sympathy with the dealings of the poor.
It is its special vice. It is the special vice of the age. One should sympathize with the joy, the beauty, the color of life. The less said about life's sores, the better, Mr. Kelville.
Still, our East End is a very important problem.
Quite so, and that is the problem of slavery, and we are trying to solve it by amusing the slaves.
What are you saying, Lord Illingworth, about... Oh, so much can be done, though, by means of measly entertainments. Oh, our rector here, Dr. Daubeny, provides with his curates during the winter. Yes, so much can be done by means of magic lantern or missionary or whatever popular amusements there are at the time.
I am not at all in favor of amusements for the poor, Jane. Blankets and coals are sufficient. There's too much love of pleasure amongst the upper classes as it is. Health is what we want in modern life. The tone's not healthy at all.
You're quite right, Lady Caroline.
I believe I'm usually right.
Horrid word, health.
Silliest word in our language. One knows the most popular idea of health. The English country gentleman galloping after a fox. The unspeakable, in full pursuit of the uneatable.
Lord Illingworth, do you regard the House of Lords as a better institution than the House of Commons?
A much better institution, Mr. Kelville. We, in the House of Lords, are never in touch with public opinion. That makes us a civilized body.
Are you serious in putting forward such a view?
Quite serious. Vulgar habit that people have nowadays of asking one, after one has given them an idea, whether one is serious or not. Nothing is serious except passion. The intellect is not a serious thing and never has been. It is an instrument on which one plays, that is all. The only serious form of the intellect I know is the British intellect, and on the British intellect the illiterates play the drums.
What are you saying, Lord Illingworth, about the drums?
Oh, I was merely talking to Miss Allenby about the leading articles in the London newspapers.
Do you believe everything that is written in the newspapers?
Quite so. It is only the unreadable that occurs nowadays.
Oh, Miss Allenby, you're not going.
Just as far as the conservatory, Lord Illingworth told me that there's an orchid there as beautiful as the 7 deadly sins.
I sure hope not, dear. I will certainly speak to the gardener.
Remarkable type, Mrs. Allenby.
Yes, she lets her clever tongue run away with her sometimes.
Is that the only thing Jane, Mrs. Allenby, allows to run away with her?
I hope so, dear. I really do. Oh, Lord Alfred, do join us.
You think good of everyone, Jane. It's a great fault.
But do you really think, Lady Caroline, that one should believe evil of everyone?
I believe it's much safer to do so, Lady Stepfield. Until, of course, people are found out to be good. But that requires a great deal of investigation nowadays.
But there's so much unkind scandal in modern life.
Lord Illingworth remarked to me at dinner last night that the basis of every scandal is an absolutely immoral certainty.
Lord Illingworth is, of course, a very brilliant man, but he seems to lack in that fine faith in the nobility and purity in life, which is so important in this century.
Yes, quite important, is it not?
He gives me the impression of a man who does not appreciate the English home life.
Oh, there's nothing like the beauty of home life, is there?
It is the mainstay of our moral system in England, Lady Stepfield. Without it, we would become like our neighbors.
That would be so sad. Would it not?
I am afraid also that Lord Illingworth regards women simply as a toy. Now, I have never regarded women as a toy. Women is the intellectual helpmeet behind man, in public as in private. Without her, we should forget our true ideals.
I'm so very glad to hear you say so.
You, a married man, Mr. Kettle.
Yes.
Kelville, my love. Kelville.
Yes.
Family?
Yes.
How many?
8.
Mrs. Kettle and the children are, I suppose, by the seaside?
Our wife is at the seaside with the children, Lady Caroline.
You'll join them later on, no doubt.
If my public engagements permit me.
Your public life must be a great source of gratification to Mrs. Kettle.
Kelville, dear. Kelville.
How very charming those gold-tipped secrets of yours are, Lord Alfred.
They're awfully expensive. I can only afford them when I'm in debt.
How terribly distressing it must be to be in debt.
No. Some must have some kind of occupation nowadays. If I hadn't my debts, I shouldn't have anything to think about.
But don't the people to whom you owe the money give you a great deal of annoyance?
Oh, no. They're right. I don't.
How very strange.
Oh, Mrs. Arbuthnot has written back to me. She will not dine, I'm so sorry, but she will come in the evening. She is one of my sweetest friends, and writes a good hand, too. So large, so firm.
A little lacking in femininity, Jane. Femininity is the quality I admire most in women.
Oh, she's very feminine, dear. You should hear what the Archdeacon says of her. He regards her as his right hand in the parish. Oh, yes, tea in the yellow drawing room, dear. Lady Stepfield, do you wish to join us for tea?
With pleasure, Lady Hunstanton.
John, if you would allow your nephew to look after Lady Stepfield's cloak, you might help me with my work basket.
Certainly, my love.
Curious thing, plain women are always jealous of their husbands. Beautiful women never are.
Beautiful women never have the time. They're always so occupied in being jealous of other people's husbands.
I would have thought Lady Caroline would have grown tired of conjugal anxiety by this time. Sir John is her 4th.
So much marriage is certainly not becoming. 20 years of romance makes a woman look like a ruin, but 20 years of marriage makes her something of a public building.
20 years of romance. Is there such a thing?
Not in our day. Women have become too brilliant. Nothing spoils a romance so much as a sense of humor in the woman.
Or the want of it in a man.
You're quite right. In a temple, everyone should be serious, except the thing that is worshipped.
And that should be man.
Women kneel so gracefully, men don't.
You are thinking of Lady Stutfield.
I can assure you, I have not thought of Lady Stutfield for the last quarter of an hour.
Is she such a mystery?
She is more than a mystery. She's a mood.
Moods don't last.
It is their chief charm.
Lord Illingworth, everyone has been congratulating me. Lady Hunstanton, so sorry, Lady Caroline, and everybody. I hope I shall be a good secretary.
You will be a pattern secretary, Gerald.
Enjoying country life, Miss Worsley?
Very much indeed.
Not longing for London dinner parties?
I dislike London dinner parties.
Oh, I quite love London dinner parties. The stupid people never talk and the clever people never listen.
I think the stupid people talk a great deal.
Oh, I never listen.
Gerald, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't have made you the offer. But it's because I like you so much that I want to have you with me. Charming fellow, Gerald Arbuthnot.
Oh, very much so indeed. But I cannot stand the American young woman.
Why?
Well, she told me yesterday, and in quite a loud voice too, that she was only 18. It was most annoying.
Any woman who would tell one her real age would tell one anything.
She is a Puritan besides.
Ah, that is inexcusable. You know, I don't mind plain women being Puritans. It is the only excuse they have for being so plain, but she is decidedly pretty, and I admire her immensely for that.
What a thoroughly bad man you must be.
What do you call a bad man?
The sort of man who admires innocence.
And a bad woman?
The sort of woman a man will never grow tired of.
You are severe on yourself.
Define us as a sex.
Sphinxes without secrets.
Does that include Puritan women?
You know, I don't believe in the existence of Puritan women. I doubt that there would be a woman in the world who would not be a little flattered if one loved her. It makes them so irresistibly adorable.
You think there's no woman in the world who would object to being kissed?
Very few.
Miss Worsley would not let you kiss her?
Are you sure?
Quite.
What do you think she'd do if I kissed her?
Well, she'd either fall in love with you or strike you across the face with her glove. What do you think you'd do if she struck you across the face with her glove?
Fall in love with her, probably.
Well, then it's a good thing you're not gonna kiss her.
Is that a challenge?
It is an arrow shot through the air.
You know, I always succeed in whatever I try.
I'm sorry to hear it. We women adore failures. They lean on us.
You worship successes. You cling to them.
We are the laurels to hide their baldness.
And they need you always, except at the moment of triumph.
They are uninteresting then.
How tantalizing you are.
Lord Illingworth, there shall always be one thing I admire you for.
Only one thing, and I have so many bad qualities.
Well, don't become too conceited about them. You may lose them as you grow older.
I don't intend to grow old. The soul is born old, but grows young. That is the comedy of life.
And the body is born young and grows old. That is life's tragedy.
It is comedy also, sometimes. But what is the mysterious reason why you always like me?
It's because you've never loved me.
I've never done anything else.
I haven't noticed it.
How fortunate. That must have been a tragedy for us both.
We should each have survived.
One can survive anything nowadays except death, and live down anything except a good reputation.
Have you tried a good reputation?
It is one of the many annoyances to which I have never been subjected to.
It may come.
Why do you threaten me?
I will tell you. When you've kissed the Puritan.
Tea served in the yellow drawing room, my lord.
Tell her ladyship we will be coming in.
Yes, my lord.
Shall we go in for tea?
You enjoy such simple pleasures?
I adore simple pleasures. They're the last refuge of a complex. But yes, let us stay here. Yes, let us stay here. The book of life begins with a man and a woman in a garden.
And it ends with revelations.
You fence divinely, but the button has come off your foil.
I still have my
It
mask.
makes your eyes lovelier.
Thank you. Come.
How curious. This handwriting reminds me of a woman I used to know years ago. No one in particular. A woman of no importance.
What a comfort it is to have gotten rid of the men for a little.
Yes. Men persecute us dreadfully, don't they?
Persecute us? I wish they did.
My dear.
The thing about those wretches is they can be perfectly happy without us. That's why I think it is every woman's duty to never leave them alone for a single moment. Except, of course, the short breathing space after dinner, without which we women would be worn to shadows.
Worn to shadows, dear.
Why, yes, of course, Lady Hunstanton. It is such a strain keeping men up to the mark. They're always trying to escape from us.
It seems to me that it's we who are always trying to escape from them. Men are so very, very heartless. They know their power and they use it.
What stuff and nonsense all this about men is. The thing to do is to keep men in their proper place.
What is the proper place, Lady Caroline?
Looking after their wives, Mrs. Allenby.
Oh, really? And if they're not married?
If they're not married, they should be looking for a wife. It's perfectly scandalous the amount of bachelors we have going about society nowadays. There should be a law passed to compel them all to marry within 12 months.
But if they're in love with someone who perhaps is tied to another,
In that case, Lady Stutfield, they should be married off in a week to some plain, respectable girl in order to teach them not to meddle with other people's property.
I don't think we should be thought of as other people's property. All men are married women's property. That is the only true definition of what married women's property is. But we don't belong to anyone.
I'm so very, very glad to hear you say so.
My dear. I suppose my husband is quite different. When I first met him, he was such a charming creature, as good as gold.
My husband is a sort of promissory of note. I'm tired of meeting him.
But you renew him from time to time, don't you?
Oh, no. I've only been married once. I suppose you look upon me as quite an amateur.
With your views on life, I wonder you married at all.
So do I.
Oh, my dear, don't say that. Oh, I do believe you are happy in your married life, but you like to hide your happiness from others.
I assure you, I was quite deceived in earnest.
Oh, don't say that, dear. I knew his mother quite well. She was a Stratton, Caroline.
Stratton?
I think one of Lord Crawlin's daughters.
Oh, Victoria Stratton. Why, I remember her perfectly. A silly, fair-haired woman with no chin.
Oh, Ernest has a chin. A very strong chin. A square chin. Ernest's chin is far too square.
But do you really think that a man's chin can be too square? I think a man should look very, very strong. That his chin should be quite square.
Well, you should certainly know Ernest, Lady Stutfield. It's only fair to tell you beforehand that he's got no conversation at all.
I adore silent men.
Ernest is not silent. He talks the whole time. What he talks about, I have no clue. I haven't listened to him in years.
Have you never forgiven him then? How very sad that seems. But all life is very, very sad, is it not?
Life, Lady Stutfield, is simply a mauvais quart d'heure made up of exquisite moments.
Yes, there are moments, certainly. Was it something very, very wrong that Mr. Allenby did? Did he become angry with you or say anything that was unkind or true?
No, Ernest is invariably calm. That's one of the reasons he always gets on my nerves. Nothing is so aggravating as calmness. The good temper of most modern men is positively brutal. I wonder we women stand it as we do.
Yes, men's good tempers show they're not so sensitive as we are, not so finely strung. Makes a great barrier often between husband and wife, does it not? But I would so much like to know what was the wrong thing Mr. Allenby did.
Well, I solemnly promise to tell you, so long as you solemnly promise to tell everyone else.
Why, thank you. I'll make a point of repeating it.
Well, when Ernest and I were first getting engaged, he swore to me positively on his knees that he had never loved another woman in the whole course of his life. Now, I was very young at the time, I needn't tell you, so I didn't believe him. But then, 4 or 5 months later, after we had been married, I found out that what he said was perfectly true. And that makes a man so uninteresting.
My dear, do not tell me that you have not forgiven your husband for not loving another. I've never heard of such a thing. Caroline, have you? I'm quite surprised.
Oh, women have become so highly educated nowadays, Jane, that nothing should surprise us anymore. Except for happy marriages. They apparently are becoming remarkably rare.
Oh, they are quite out of date.
Except amongst the middle classes. So, I've been told.
Oh, how like the middle classes.
Yes. Is it not? Very, very like them.
If what you tell us about the middle classes is true, Lady Stepfield, it redounds greatly to their credit. It is much to be regretted that in our rank of life, the wife is to be so persistently frivolous, under the impression that it's the proper thing to be. It is to that I attribute the unhappiness of so many marriages we know about in society.
I don't think the frivolity of the wife has anything to do with it, Lady Caroline. You see, men, they're so full of common sense. And how's a woman supposed to make it through life when a man insists on treating her as if she were a perfectly rational being?
My dear.
Man, poor, awkward, reliable, necessary man, belongs to a sex that has been rational for millions and millions of years. He can't help himself, it's in his race. The history of women is completely different. We have been the picturesque protest against the mere existence of common sense. We saw its dangers from the first.
Yes, the common sense of husbands is certainly most trying. Do tell me your conception of the ideal husband. I think it would be so very, very helpful.
The ideal husband? There couldn't be such a thing. The institution is wrong.
The ideal man, then, in his relations to us.
He would probably be extremely realistic.
The ideal man, the ideal man would talk to us as if we were goddesses and treat us as if we were children. He would refuse all of our serious requests and gratify every one of our whims. He would encourage us to have caprices and forbid us to have missions. And he should always say much more than he means and always mean much more than he says.
How can he do both, dear?
He should never run down other pretty women. That would make one suspect that he had too much, or make one suspect that he had no taste at all. No, he should be nice about them all and somehow say that they don't attract him.
Yes, it's always very, very pleasant to hear about other women.
Whenever we ask him a question, he should give us an answer all about ourselves. He should invariably praise us for the qualities he knows we haven't got, and be pitiless, quite pitiless, in reproaching us with the virtues we have never dreamed of possessing. And he should never assume we know the use of useful things. That would be unforgivable. But he should shower us on things we don't want.
As far as I can tell, all he's to do is pay bills and compliments.
Lady Caroline, he should persistently compromise us in public and treat us with absolute respect when we are alone. And yet, he should be ready to have a perfectly terrible scene whenever we want one, and to become positively brutal at the end of half an hour, and leave us forever at 7:45 when we are to leave and go and get dressed for dinner. And then after that, once one has promised to never give back the little things he has given one, and to never write one any foolish letters, or even to communicate with one at all, he should become perfectly heartbroken. And he should telegraph to one all day long, and send little notes by private hansom, and dine quite alone in the club. And then, after a whole dreadful week, during which one has gone about everywhere with one's husband, just to show how absolutely lonely one was, I suppose he may finally be given a third last parting in the evening. And if his conduct has been truly irreproachable to him, and one has treated him really badly, it becomes a woman's duty to forgive him. And one can do it all over again, from the beginning, with variations.
Clever you are, my dear. You never mean a single word you say.
Thank you, thank you. It's been quite entrancing. I must try and remember it all. There have been such a number of details that are so very important.
But you have not yet told us what the reward of the ideal man is to be.
His reward? Infinite expectation. That is quite enough for him.
But men are so terribly exacting, are they not?
That makes no matter, Lady Studfield. One should never surrender.
Not even to the ideal man?
Certainly not to him. Unless, of course, one wants to grow tired of him.
Oh. Yes. I see that. It's very helpful. Do you think, Mrs. Allenby, that I will ever meet the ideal man? Or are there more than one?
There are just 4 in London, Lady Studfield.
Oh, my dear.
Oh, what has happened to tell me?
I have completely forgotten that the dear American is in the room with us. Let us hope that this clever talk has not spooked her.
It will do her so much good.
Well, let us hope she did not understand a word. Miss Worsley, how quiet you've been in your little corner. Reading, I presume. We do have such a great selection in our library.
No, I've been listening to the conversation.
You mustn't believe everything you hear, dear.
I didn't believe any of it.
No, it's quite right, dear.
I couldn't believe that any woman could have such views of life as I had heard tonight from some of your guests.
You have such pleasant society in America, don't you? Quite like our Odin places. My son wrote to me.
We have cliques in America, as elsewhere, but the true society consists of the good men and the good women we have in our country.
What a sensible system, and dare I say it, quite admirable, too. I'm sorry to state that here we have so many artificial social barriers. We don't see much of the middle and lower classes.
In America, we have no lower class.
Oh, what a peculiar system.
What is that dreadful girl talking about?
She's painfully natural, is she not?
There are a great many things you haven't got in America, Miss Worsley. You have no ruins and no curiosities.
Oh, what nonsense! They have their mothers and their manners.
The English aristocracy supplies us with our curiosity, Lady Caroline. They are shipped over to us regularly in the steamers every summer and proposed to us the day after they land. As for ruins, we are trying to build up something that will last longer than brick or stone.
What are you talking about, dear girl? Oh, the iron exhibition in that place with that unique name.
We are trying to build up life, Lady Hunstanton, on a better, truer, purer basis than life rests on here. This sounds strange to you all, no doubt. How could it sound other than strange? You rich people in England, you do not know how you are living. How could you? You shut out from society the gentle and the good. You laugh at the simple and the pure. Living, as you do, on others and by them, you sneer at self-sacrifice. And if you throw bread to the poor, it is merely to keep them quiet for a season. With all your pomp and wealth and art, you do not know how to live. You don't even know that. You love the beauty that you can see and touch and handle, the beauty that you can destroy and do destroy. But of the unseen beauty of life, the unseen beauty of a higher life, you know nothing. You have lost life's secret. Oh, your English society seems to me shallow,
selfish, foolish. It has blinded its eyes and stopped its ears. It lies like a leper in purple. It sits like a dead thing smeared with gold. It is all wrong. All wrong.
I don't think that one should know these things. It's not very, very nice, is it?
My dear, I thought you liked English society. You were doing so well in it, too. I can't remember exactly what he said, but our dear Lord Henry Weston made such a complimentary note of you.
Lord Henry Weston, I remember him. A man with a hideous smile and a hideous past. He is asked everywhere. No dinner party is complete without him. What of those whose ruin is due to him? They are outcasts. They are nameless. If you saw them in the street, you would turn your head away. I don't complain of their punishment. Let all women who have sinned be punished. If you have no objections, I'll continue. It is right that they should be punished. But don't let them be the only ones to suffer. If a man or a woman have sinned, send them both forth into the desert to love or loathe each other there. Let them both be branded. Set a mark, if you wish, on each. But don't punish one and let the other go free. Don't have one law for men and another for women. You are unjust to women in England. And until you consider what is wrong in a man to be an infamy in a woman, you will always be unjust and right. That pillar of fire and wrong, that pillar of cloud will be made dim to your eyes and not be seen at all. And if seen, not regarded.
Miss Worsley, might I, as you're standing up, ask you for my cotton that's just over there? Thank you.
Miss Arbuthnot, I did not see you come in. Oh, you were not announced.
Oh, I came straight from the terrace, Lady Hunstanton, just as I was. You did not tell me that you had a party.
Not a party, dear. Just a couple of guests staying. Oh, you really must meet them. This is Miss Arbuthnot, my sweetest friend. Miss Arbuthnot, Caroline Pontefract, Miss Allenby, Lady Stutfield, and our dear friend Miss Worsley. Ooh, who's just been telling us how wicked we all are.
Lady Hunstanton, I'm afraid you think I spoke too strongly, but there are some things in England that just...
My dear, what you have said can be considered quite true. And do not fret, dear. You looked very pretty while you said it, which is most important. Which is what Lord Illingworth would have told us. No, dear, I did think you were a little harsh about Caroline's brother, Lord Henry Weston. He is such good company.
Lady Caroline, I had no idea that was your brother. I'm so sorry for the pain I must have caused you.
My dear Miss Worsley, the only part of your little speech, if I may so term it, with which I thoroughly agreed, was the part about my brother. Nothing you could say could possibly be too bad for him. I regard Henry as infamous, absolutely infamous. Although I am bound to state, as you were remarking, Jane, that he really is such good company, and he is one of the best chefs in London. And after a good meal, one can forgive anybody, even one's own relations.
Yes, my dear. Oh, Miss Worsley, come meet Miss Arbuthnot. Do come. She is one of those kind, sweet, simple people you say we do not let into pleasant society. Miss Arbuthnot does not come to me often, but that's not my fault, dear.
What a bore it is, the men staying so long after dinner. I am sure that they are saying the most dreadful things about us.
Do you really think so?
I'm sure of it.
How very, very horrid of them. Shall we go on to the terrace?
Anything to get away from the dowagers and the dowdies. We are only going to look at the stars, Lady Hunstanton.
You'll find a great many, dear, a great many, but do be careful and do not catch cold. Oh, come, Miss Arbuthnot. We are all going to miss Gerald so much.
But Lord Illingworth really offered to make Gerald his secretary?
Yes, he is quite charming about the matter, and Lord Illingworth is quite taken with your boy. Oh, you do not know Lord Illingworth, do you?
I have never met him.
You know him by name, no doubt.
I am afraid I don't. I live so much out of this world and know so few people. But I do remember hearing years ago of an old Lord Illingworth who lived in Yorkshire, I think.
Oh, yes, that would be the last earl but one. There was some scandal about him. He wanted to marry beneath him. Or wouldn't, I forget which. No, dear. This current Lord Illingworth is quite different. He's very distinguished. I do not believe that he shares the same interest as you, though. Caroline, do you think that Lord Illingworth would be interesting in the housing of the poor?
Oh, I should fancy not at all, Jane.
Oh, yes. Well, we all have our different tastes, don't we? Yes, and he is quite young for the title. He came into the title about, how long ago, Caroline?
It was 4 years ago, I believe. Yes, I remember it was the same year in which my brother had his last exposure in the evening newspapers.
Yes, 4 years ago, that sounds about right. And there was a great many people between him and the title. Who was there, Caroline?
There was poor Margaret's baby. You remember how anxious she was to have a boy, and it was a boy, but it died. And her husband died shortly afterwards. She remarried almost immediately to one of Lord Ascot's sons, who I'm told beats her.
Well, that's in the family, dear. That's in the family. No, dear. And then there was also... Oh, yes, that clergyman who wanted to be a lunatic, or a lunatic who wanted to be a clergyman. I forget which, but the council found him quite sane. I later found him in poor Lord Plumstead's cabin with straw in his hair, or something very odd about him. No, dear, I regret it so that Lady Cecilia never got to see her son come into the title.
Lady Cecilia?
Yes, Lord Illingsworth's mother, dear. Oh, she was one of the Duchesses of Jerningham's pretty daughters. She later married Thomas Harford, who they weren't really considered a good match, but he was the most handsomest man in London. I was close to them all, them and their two sons, Arthur and George.
It was the eldest son who succeeded, of course, Lady Hunstanton.
No, dear, no. He died in a hunting field. Or was it fishing, Caroline? I forget. No, dear. George has come in for everything. I often tell him that no youngest son has ever had such luck as he.
Lady Hunstanton, can I speak with Gerald? Might I see him? Can he be sent for?
Yes, of course, dear. Yes. I will fetch a servant to grab him from the dining room. Oh, I don't know what keeps a gentleman so long. But I did only know George Harford before. He was such a brilliant young man about town, with not a penny to his name except for what Lady Cecilia gave to him. They were close, chiefly, I fancy. Oh, he was not on good terms with his father. Oh, dear Archdeacon! It does not matter.
Lord Illingworth has been most entertaining. Miss Arbuthnot.
Yes, as you can see, I finally got Miss Arbuthnot to come to me at last.
That is quite an honor, Lady Hunstanton.
Yes.
Miss Daubeny will be quite jealous.
Oh, yes, I am so sorry that she could not dine with us. Headache as usual, I suppose.
Yes, a perfect mortar, but she's happiest alone. She's happiest alone.
John!
How's the most charming woman in the world?
We are both fine, thank you, Lord Illingworth, but what a short time you've been in the dining room. It seems as if we had only just left.
I was bored to death. Never opened my lips the entire time. I was merely longing to come into you.
Oh, you should have. The American young woman has been giving us a lecture.
Really? All Americans lecture, I believe. It is something in their climate. What was she lecturing about?
Puritanism, of course.
I'm going to convert her, am I not? How long do you give me?
A week.
A week is more than enough.
Dear mother,
Gerald, see me home, Gerald. I shouldn't have come.
I'm so sorry, certainly, but you must meet Lord Illingworth first.
Not tonight, Gerald.
Lord Illingworth, I want you so to know my mother.
With the greatest pleasure. I'll be back in a moment. People's mothers always bore me to death. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy.
All men don't. That is theirs.
What a delightful mood you are in tonight.
Mother, this is Lord Illingworth, the man who offered me a job as his private secretary. It's a wonderful opening for me, isn't it? I hope he won't be disappointed in me, that's all. You'll thank Lord Illingworth, Mother, won't you?
Lord Illingworth and good, I'm sure, to interest himself in you for the moment.
Yes, well, Gerald and I are the greatest friends already, Miss Arbuthnot.
There can be nothing in common between you and my boy, Lord Illingworth.
Mother, How can you say so? Of course, Lord Illingworth is awfully clever in that sort of thing. There's nothing he doesn't know.
My dear boy.
Lord Illingworth knows more about life than anyone I've ever met. I feel a great duffer when I'm with you, Lord Illingworth. But, of course, I've had so few advantages. I've never been to Eton or Oxford like the other chaps, but Lord Illingworth doesn't seem to mind. He's been very good to me, Mother.
Lord Illingworth may change his mind. He may not really want you as his secretary.
Mother.
You must remember, as you said, you have such few advantages.
Lord Illingworth, I wish to speak to you. Do come over.
Will you excuse me, Miss Arbuthnot? Now, Gerald, don't let your mothers make any more difficulties for us. The thing is quite settled, isn't it?
I hope so.
I thought you'd never leave the lady in the black velvet.
She's excessively handsome.
It is time. Miss Worsley is going to play for us in the music room. You really must join us, Miss Arbuthnot. You're in for such a treat.
I really should bring Miss Worsley to the rectory. I'm sure Miss Daubeny would enjoy. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Her hearing is a bit defective as of late, isn't it?
Yes. She can't even hear my sermons now. She reads them at home, of course. She's never morbid, never morbid.
Lord Illingworth, please do talk to my mother before you go into the music room. She seems to somehow think you don't mean what you say to me.
Aren't you coming?
In a moment. Lady Hunstanton, if Miss Arbuthnot would allow me, I would like to say a few words to her, then we shall join you later on.
Yes, you have a great deal to tell her, and she has a great deal to thank you for. It is not every son who gets such an offer, but do not keep her long. We cannot spare her.
John!
So, Rachel, that is our son. I am very much pleased with our boy. He and a Hartford, every inch of him. By the way, why Arbuthnot, Rachel?
One name is as good as another when one has no right to any name.
I suppose so. Then why Gerald?
After the man whose heart I broke. After my father.
Well, what is over is over. I'll have to say now that I'm very much pleased with our boy. The world will know him merely as my secretary, but to me, he will be something very near and very dear. What a curious thing. I always thought I was lacking something. And I was. I was lacking a son. I have found my son now, and I'm glad I have found him.
You have no right to claim him, or any part of him. The boy is entirely mine and shall remain mine.
Rachel, you have had him for over 20 years, so why not let me have him for a little now? He is just as much mine as he is yours.
Are you talking of the child you abandoned? Who, as far as you are concerned, might have died of hunger or of want?
Rachel, you forget. It was you who left me. It was not I who left you.
I left you because you refused to give my child a name. Before my son was born, I implored you to marry me.
I had no expectations then. And besides, Rachel, I wasn't much older than you were. I was 22. I was 21, I believe, when the whole thing began in your father's garden.
When a man is old enough to do wrong, he should be old enough to do right also.
Yes, well, it is no duty of mine to do.
But what about your mother?
Yes. Well, I was young at the time, and so my mother had all say in what I was to do.
And when she offered to give me money, I wouldn't have accepted a penny from her. Your father, he was different. He told you in my presence when we were in Paris that it was your duty to marry me.
Oh, duty is what one does to others, not what one does oneself. Of course, I was influenced by my mother. Every young man is.
I am glad to hear you say, Gerald shall certainly not go away with you.
What nonsense, Rachel.
Do you really think I would allow my son?
Our son.
My son. To go away with the man who has spoiled my youth, who has ruined my life, who has tainted every moment of my days? You don't know what my past has been in suffering and in shame.
Yes, well, Your past is not as important as Gerald's future.
Gerald cannot separate his future from my past.
That is exactly what he should do. That is exactly what you should help him to do. What a typical woman you are. You talk sentimentally, and you're thoroughly selfish the entire time. But let's not have a scene here, Rachel. I want what's best for our son. What is our son at present? He is an underpaid clerk in a small provincial bank in a third-rate English town. If you think he is quite happy in such a position, you are mistaken. He is thoroughly discontent.
He was not discontented until he has met you. You have made him so.
Of course I made him so. Discontent is the first step in the progress of a man or a nation. But I did not leave him with the mere longing of things he could not get. No, I made him an offer. He jumped at it, I need hardly say. But you daren't tell him in what relations I stand to you. Look how you brought him up.
I have brought him up to be a good man.
And what is the result? He is to be your judge if he ever finds you out, and a bitter and unjust judge he will be to you. Rachel, children begin by loving their parents. After a time, they judge them. Rarely, if ever, do they forgive them.
George, don't take Gerald away from me. I have had 20 years of sorrow and only one thing to love me. Only one thing to love. You've had a life of joy and pleasures and success. You've been quite happy. You've never thought of us. There was no reasons, according to your views of life, why you should have remembered us at all. Why, you meeting us here was a mere accident. A horrible accident. Forget it. Don't come now and rob me of all I have in the world. You are so rich in other things. Leave me with the little vineyard of my life. Oh, leave me with the walled-in garden and the ewe lamb God has sent me, in pity or in wrath. Oh, leave me that. George, don't take Gerald away from me.
Rachel, you're not important to Gerald's career. I am. There's nothing more to be said on the subject.
I will not let him go.
Well, here's Gerald. He has the right to decide for himself.
Mother, I hope you settled it all with Lord Illingworth.
I have not, Gerald.
Your mother seems to not like the idea of you coming with me, for some reason.
Why, Mother?
Well, I thought you were quite happy with me here. I didn't think you were so anxious to leave me.
Mother, how can you say so? Of course I'm quite happy with you, but a man can't stay with his mother. No chap does. I want to create myself a position to do something. I thought you'd be proud to see me Lord Illingworth's secretary.
I do not think that you would be suitable as Lord Illingworth's secretary. You have no qualifications.
As far as your last objection is concerned, I surely am the best judge. And Gerald, he has all the qualifications I'd hoped for, far more. If there's any other reason, say it.
Well, Mother, do answer.
If you have any, pray say it. We are quite by ourselves here. You need not worry, I will not repeat it.
Mother?
If you have any reason you wish to say to Gerald in private, I shall leave.
I have no other reasons.
Then let's look on things as settled. And Miss Arbuthnot, pray, let me tell you that I think you have acted very wisely. Now let's go on the terrace and smoke a nice cigarette together. Sensible woman, your mother, Gerald. I knew she would come round in the end.
My mother is awfully conscientious, Lord Illingworth. I know she doesn't think I'm educated enough to be your secretary, and she's right. I was fearfully idle in school. I couldn't pass an examination now to save my life.
Examinations are of no value whatsoever, Gerald. If a man is a gentleman, whatever he knows is good enough for him. But if he is not a gentleman, whatever he knows is bad for him.
But I'm so ignorant of the world.
Don't be afraid, Gerald. You've got the most wonderful thing on your side, youth. The middle-aged are mortgaged to life. The old are in life's slumber rooms. But youth is the lord of life. Youth has a kingdom waiting for it, and everyone is born a king, and most people die in exile. And like most kings, to win back my youth, Gerald, I would do anything in the world except take exercise, get up early, or even be a useful member of the community.
But you don't call yourself old.
I'm old enough to be your father, Gerald.
I don't remember my father. He died years ago.
So Lady Huntington told me.
It's awfully curious. My mother never talks about my father, so I sometimes think she married beneath her.
Really? Well, you missed not having a father, I suppose.
Oh no. My mother has been awfully good to me. I have the best mother in the world.
I'm quite sure of that. Still, I should imagine that, like most mothers, don't understand their sons. Don't realize, that a son has ambitions, a desire to seek life, to make himself a name. After all, Gerald, you couldn't be expected to pass all your life in such a hole as Rockley, now could you?
Oh no, it would be dreadful.
Of course, a mother's love is very touching, but is often curiously selfish. It has a great deal of selfishness in it.
I suppose there is.
Your mother's a thoroughly good woman. But good women have such limited views of life. Their horizons are so small. Their interests are so petty, aren't they?
They're awfully interested in things we don't care much about.
Your mother is religious in that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, she's always going to church.
She is not modern. And to be modern is the most wonderful thing in life. You want to be modern, don't you? Not to be put off with any old-fashioned theories about life. If a man who can dominate the London dinner table can dominate the world, the future belongs to the dandy. It's the exquisites who are going to rule.
I should like to wear nice clothes awfully, but I was told a man should not care much about what he wears.
People are so absolutely superficial that they don't understand the philosophy of the superficial. By the way, Gerald, you should learn how to tie your tie better. Sentiment is very well for the buttonhole. A well-tied tie is the first serious step in life.
I might be able to learn how to tie a tie, Lord Illingworth, but I'll never be able to speak as you do. I don't know how to talk.
Oh, talk to every woman as if you loved her, to every man as if he bored you. At the end of your first season, you will have acquired the most perfect social tact.
It's very difficult to get into society, isn't it?
To get into the best society nowadays, Gerald, you have to either feed people, amuse people, or shock people. That is all.
I suppose society is wonderfully delightful.
To be in is merely a bore, but to be out of it is simply a tragedy. If a man has not got women to back him, then he is quite over. Women rule society. If he has not, like I said before, not got women to back him, then he's quite over. He might as well be a barrister, or stockbroker, or a journalist at once.
It's very difficult to understand women, isn't it?
You should never try to understand them. Women are pictures, men are problems. If you want to understand a woman, which, by the way, is always a dangerous thing to do, look at her, but don't listen to her.
But women are awfully clever, are they not?
One should always tell them so, but to the philosopher, my dear Gerald, women represent the triumph of matter over mind, just as men represent the triumph of mind over morals.
Then how do women have so much power?
The history of the woman is the history of the worst form of tyranny the world has ever known. The tyranny of the weak over the strong. It is the only tyranny that lasts.
Haven't women got a refining influence?
Nothing refines but the intellect.
There are different kinds of women, though.
There are only two kinds in society, the plain and the colored.
But are there good women in society?
Far too many.
Don't you think a woman should be good?
One should never tell them so. They'd all been good at once. Women are a fascinating and willful sex. And my dear Gerald, women are born as a rebel, and usually in a wild revolt against themselves.
You've never been married, Lord Illingworth, have you?
Men marry because they are tired. Women because they are curious. Both are disappointed.
But what if one is in love?
The happiness of a married man, my dear Gerald, depends on the people he has not married.
Love is a wonderful thing, though.
That is why one should never marry, to always be in love.
But it's a wonderful thing, right?
When one is in love, one begins by deceiving oneself, and then begins by deceiving others. That is what the world calls a romance, but a really grande passion is comparatively rare nowadays. It is the privilege of people who have got nothing to do, Gerald. And that's really the explanation of us Harfords.
Harfords, Illingworth?
That is my family name. You should study the Peerage, Gerald. It is the one book about town a young man like yourself should know thoroughly. It is the one book about fiction that the English has ever done. And now, Gerald, you're going into a perfectly new life with me, and I want you to know how to live. For the world has been made by fools, that wise men should live in it.
Oh, there you are, Lord Illingworth. I've been looking for you everywhere. I suppose you've been telling Gerald what his new duties are to be. Oh, I hope that you have given him good advice over a pleasant cigarette.
I've been giving him the best advice and over the best of cigarettes.
Oh, I'm so sorry I was not here to listen. Although, I'm afraid I might be too old now to learn. Except from you, dear Archdeacon, when you're in your nice pulpit. Although I always know what you're going to say, so it never surprises me. Oh, Miss Arbuthnot! Do come join us, dear. Gerald has just been talking with Lord Illingworth. I'm sure you're quite flattered. Oh, how is the embroidery going?
Oh, I am always at work, Lady Hunstanton.
Yes. Miss Daubeny embroiders too a little.
She used to be quite daft with the needle once. Quite a Dorcas. But since the gout has crippled her finger a great deal, she hasn't touched the tambour frame for about 9 or 10 years. But she's interested in other things. She's very much interested in her own health.
Oh, yes, one's health. What a pleasant distraction. Oh, Lord Illingworth, what have you been telling George about? Do tell us.
I've been explaining to Gerald that the world has always laughed at its own tragedies, which has been the only way it has been able to bear them. And that, consequently, whatever the world has find serious is always on the comedy side of things.
Yes, I'm quite out of my depth. I usually am when Lord Illingworth says anything. But, yes, the Humane Society is most careless. They always let me sink. But I always think that you are on the side of sinners, and, well, I try to be on the side of saints, but that is as far as I can get. But that may just be the passing fancy of a drowning person.
The only difference between the saint and the sinner is that every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future.
Yes, that does it for me. You and I, Miss Arbuthnot, are too old to follow Lord Illingworth. Too much care has been taken in our education. I'm afraid nowadays being well brought up is a great drawback. It sets one from so much.
I should be sorry to follow Lord Illingworth in any of his opinions.
That is quite right, dear.
Oh, Jane, have you seen John anywhere?
Yes, he was heading to the yellow drawing room with Lady Stutfield, I believe. They were most happy together. You're not going, dear. Pray sit down.
I think I'd better look after John.
Oh. She's much too anxious. Lady Stutfield is very sympathetic. Oh, she is as sympathetic about one thing as she is the other. A beautiful nature. Oh! I suppose it was Miss Allenby, I saw you with Sir John. Caroline's looking everywhere for you, dear.
We have been waiting for her in the music room, dear Lady Hunstanton.
Oh, the music room. Yes, of course. I thought it was a yellow drawing room. But now then, my memory is getting quite defective as of late. Miss Daubeny has a wonderful memory, doesn't she, dear?
No, not anymore. She used to be quite remarkable for her memory, but ever since her last attack, she cheerfully recalls early memories of her childhood.
Oh, Lady Stutfield, Mr. Kevill. Oh, what have you been talking about?
About bimetallism. As well as I remember.
Oh, yes, bimetallism, what a precious subject, yes. I guess now we can talk so freely. Oh, what have you been talking about, dear?
About Patagonia.
Patagonia, what a remote topic, but very improving, I hear.
Sir John has been the most interesting on the subject of Patagonia. Savages have quite the same views as cultured people on almost all subjects. They are excessively advanced.
And what do they do, dear?
Apparently everything.
Oh, that is very gratifying to hear, is it not, dear Archdeacon? That human nature is a permanent one. The world is still the world.
Have you have anything to say on the world, Lord Illingworth?
Yes. The world is simply divided into two classes. Those who do the incredible, like the public, and those who do the improbable.
Like yourself?
Yes. I'm always astonishing myself.
And what have you been doing lately that astonishes you?
I've been discovering all kinds of beautiful qualities in my own nature.
Well, don't become too perfect all at once, Lord Illingworth. Do it gradually.
I don't intend to grow perfect. I hope I shan't. Women love us for our defects. If we have enough of them, they will forgive us of everything, even our gigantic intellects.
It is premature to ask us to forgive analysis. We forgive adoration. That is quite as much as should be expected from us.
Yes, we women should forgive everything, shouldn't we? I'm sure you agree with me on that, dear Miss Arbuthnot.
I am afraid I do not, Lady Hunstanton. I think there are many things that women should never forgive.
Oh, like what sort of things?
The ruin of another woman's life.
Ooh, yes, that is quite sad. But I do believe that there are homes and houses where one could be taken care of and reformed. Oh, that is the secret to life, is to take things very, very easily.
The secret of life is to never have an emotion that is unbecoming.
The secret of life is to appreciate the pleasure of being terribly, terribly deceived.
The secret of life, Lady Stutfield, is to resist temptation.
There is no secret of life. Life's aim, if it has one, is to always be looking for temptations. There are not nearly enough in the world. I sometimes pass the whole day without coming across a single one. It is quite dreadful. It makes one so nervous about the future.
I don't know what it is tonight, Lord Illingworth, but everything you've said is exceedingly immoral, even for you. It is quite entertaining to watch.
All thought is immoral. Its very essence is destruction. If you think of anything, you kill it. Nothing survives being thought of.
Yes, I don't understand a word you say, Lord Illingworth. But I have no doubt it is all quite true. I have little reproach on the score of thinking. I believe women should think in moderation, as we do with all things.
Moderation is a fatal thing, Lady Hunstanton. Nothing succeeds like excess.
Yes, I hope I shall remember that. It is an admirable maxim. Oh, but my memory is fading. It is quite tragic.
It is one of your most fascinating qualities. A woman should never have a memory. A memory in a woman is the beginning of dowdiness. You can always tell from a woman's bonnet whether she has a memory or not.
How charming you are, Lord Illingworth. You always find one's most glaring fault in one's most important virtue. You have such a comforting view on life.
Dr. Daubeny's carriage?
Dr. Daubeny, you're not going. It's only 10:30.
Tuesdays are always one of Miss Daubeny's bad nights.
Oh, then I will not keep you, but I will send Frances to put a partridge of bread in your carriage for her.
Oh, no need, no need. Miss Stoppany never touches solids now, lives entirely off jellies.
There's a beautiful moon tonight.
Then let us go look at it. To look at anything nowadays that is inconstant is charming.
You have your looking glass.
He does not like me. He merely shows me my wrinkles.
Mine is better behaved and never tells me the truth.
That is in love with you.
May I come too?
Do, my dear boy.
Gerald,
What, Mother?
it is getting late. Let us go home.
Do let us stay a little longer. Lord Illingworth has been very good to me, and I have a great surprise for you. We're starting for India at the end of the month.
Let us go home.
If you want to, certainly, but I must bid farewell to Lord Illingworth first. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Leave me if he chooses, but not with him. Not with him. I could not bear it.
What a beautiful night it is, Mrs. Arbuthnot.
Is it?
Mrs. Arbuthnot, I wish you would let us be friends. You are so different from all the other women here. When I came into the drawing room this evening, you brought with you a sense of what is good and pure in life. I have been foolish. There are things that are right to be said, but can be said to the wrong people and at the wrong time.
I heard what you said, and I agree with it, Miss Worsley.
I did not know you had heard what I said, but I knew you would agree with it. A woman who has sinned should be punished, shouldn't she?
Yes,
And she should not be allowed into the society of the good men and the good women.
she should not.
And man, if he has sinned, he should be punished in the same way.
In the same way. And the children? If there are children in the same way also?
Yes, it is right that the sins of the parents should be visited on the children. It's a just law. It is God's law.
It is one of God's terrible laws.
You are distressed about your son leaving you, Mrs. Arbuthnot.
Yes.
Do you like him going away with Lord Illingworth? Of course, there's money and position, but money and position are not everything, are they?
They are nothing. They bring misery.
Then why do you let your son go with him?
He wishes it himself.
But if you asked him to stay, he would stay, would he not?
He has set his heart on going.
No, he loves you too much to refuse you anything. I'll send him to you. He's on the terrace with Lord Illingworth at the moment. I heard them laughing as I passed through the music room.
Don't bother, Miss Worsley. I can wait. It is of no consequence.
No, I'll tell him you want him. And do ask him to stay.
He won't come. I know he won't come.
Mr. Arbuthnot, have you seen John anywhere on the terrace?
No, Lady Caroline, he's not on the terrace.
That's most curious. It's time for him to retire.
Mother, I'm afraid I kept you waiting. I'm so sorry. I forgot all about it, but I'm so happy tonight, Mother. I've never been happier.
At the prospect of going away?
Mother, how can you say so? Of course I'm sorry to leave you, but as Lord Illingworth says, it's impossible to live in such a place as Rockley, and you don't mind it, but I'm ambitious. I want to have a career. I want to do something that'll make you proud of me, and Lord Illingworth is going to help me. He's going to do everything for me.
George, don't go away with Lord Illingworth. I implore you not to. I beg you.
How changeable you are. You don't know your own mind for a single moment. An hour and a half ago, in the music room, you agreed to the whole thing. Now you turn around and make objections? Don't force me to give up on my one chance in life. Yes, my one chance. You don't suppose that men like Lord Illingworth are going to come around every day, do you? And who would have guessed that when I finally get a stroke of luck, the one person to stand in my way would be my own mother. And besides, I love Hester Worsley. Who could help loving her? I love her more than I have told you, far more. And if I had the prospects, if I had the position, I could ask her. Don't you understand what it means to me to be Lord Illingworth's secretary? I could ask Hester to be my wife. As a wretched bank clerk with 100 a day, it'd be an impertinence.
I fear you need have no hopes of Mrs. Worsley. I know her views on life. She's just told them to me.
Then I have my ambition left at any rate. and I'm glad I have that. You've always tried to crush my ambition, Mother, haven't you? You've always told me that the world is a wicked place, that society is shallow, that success is not worth having. I think the world must be beautiful. I think society must be exquisite, and I think success is worth having. You've been wrong in all that you taught me, Mother. Quite wrong. Lord Illingworth is a successful man. He's a fashionable man. He's a man who lives in a world and for it. I would give anything to be just like Lord Illingworth.
Well, I would rather see you dead!
Mother, what is your objection to Lord Illingworth? Tell me right now.
He is a bad man.
In what way bad? I don't understand what you mean.
I will tell you.
I suppose you think him bad because he doesn't have the same views as you, but that's natural, Mother. Men and women have different views.
It is not what he believes or what he does not believe that makes him bad. It is what he is.
Is this something that you know? Something you actually know?
It is something I know.
Something you're quite sure of?
Quite sure of.
And how long have you known it?
For 20 years.
Is it really fair to go back 20 years in a man's career? And besides, what do you or I have to do with Lord Illingworth's early life? It's none of our business.
It is what he has been, what he is now, and what he will always be.
Mother, I don't understand.
Gerald, come near me. Quite close to me. Like how you were when you were a boy. When you were your mother's own boy. There was a girl. She was very young at the time. She was a little over 18. George Harford, for that was Lord Illingworth's name back then. George Harford met this girl. She knew nothing about life, and he knew everything. He made this girl love him. Love him so much that she left her father's garden with him one morning. He had loved her so much that he had promised to marry her. He had solemnly promised, and she believed him, for she was very young and ignorant of what life really is. But he put off the wedding from week to week, month to month. She trusted him all the while, for she loved him before her child was born, for she had a child. She implored him for the child's sake, that her sin may not be visited upon the child who was innocent. He refused. After her child was born, she left him, taking him away. Her soul was ruined. Her life was ruined. And everything that was good and sweet and pure in her ruined also. She suffered terribly. Why, she suffers now. She will always suffer. For her, there's no peace, no joy, no atonement. The fires cannot purify her. The waters cannot quench her anguish. Nothing can heal her. No adenine for sleep, no poppy's forgetfulness. She is lost. She is a lost soul. That is why I call Lord Illingworth a bad man, and why I do not want my boy to go away with him.
Mother. That sounds all very tragic, of course, but I dare say the girl is just as much to blame as Lord Illingworth. I mean, what a nice girl. A girl with any nice feelings at all, run away from home and leave her family to live with a man whom she has not married as his wife. No nice girl would.
Gerald, I withdraw all my objections. You have the liberty to go away with Lord Illingworth when and where you choose.
Oh, dear mother, I knew you wouldn't stand in my way. And as for Lord Illingworth, I don't believe he's capable of anything infamous or base. I just can't believe it of him. I can't.
Let me go! Let me go! Oh, save me from him!
From whom?
He was terribly insulted me! Oh, save me!
Who is dared? Lord Illingworth! You've insulted the purest thing on this earth. It's Spear is my own mother. You've insulted the woman I love most, next to my mother. In God's name, I will kill you!
No!
Don't load me! I'll kill him, mother!
Gerald!
I'll kill him!
Stop! He is your own father!
Lady Hunstanton and Miss Allenby. Oh, good morning, Gerald.
Good morning, Lady Hunstanton. Good morning, Miss Allenby.
We've come to inquire about your mother, dear. Is she feeling better?
I'm afraid she has not come downstairs yet, Lady Hunstanton.
Oh, I'm afraid that the heat might have gotten to her. I did think that there was some thunder in the air. Or maybe it was the music. Music can make one feel so romantic nowadays. At least it gets on one's nerves easily.
Well, it is the same thing nowadays.
I'm so glad I don't know what you mean, dear. I'm afraid you mean something horrible. Oh, dear, you're admiring Miss Arbuthnot's pretty room. It is nice and old-fashioned, isn't it?
It looks quite the happy English home.
Yes, dear, that word fits it perfectly. One can feel your mother's good influence in everything she has about her.
Lord Illingworth says that all influence is bad, but a good influence is the worst in the world.
Oh, yes. Well, once Lord Illingworth knows your mother better, dear, things will change. Yes. Oh, you leave with Lord Illingworth right away, don't you?
I've given up my intention of being Lord Illingworth's secretary.
Oh, whatever do you mean, dear boy?
I don't think I'm suitable for the post.
Well, I would like Lord Illingworth to ask me to be his secretary. But he says I'm not serious enough.
You cannot say things like that in a home like this. Why, look around you. In a modern home, there are orchids and foreigners and French novels, but here, oh, we have natural flowers, paintings that do not shock one, and books that do not make one blush.
I like blushing.
A good deal can be said for blushing. I have to state that Lord Hunstanton used to say that I did not blush nearly enough. But then again, he was always so peculiar. He never let me meet any men above 70. below.
Well, I think 70 is an ideal age for a man. They give one the devotion of a lifetime. I think 70 is perfect.
Yes, dear Gerald, she is quite incorrigible, is she not? But Gerald, what really could you possibly say not suitable for the post?
Lord Illingworth's views of life and mine are far too different from each other.
Oh, you're too young to have views on life. You need somebody older to guide you. And Lord Illingworth has made you such a flattering offer. Oh, you'd be able to see the world, or as much as the world as one should see, and meet all the important people, which is so important for your career.
I don't want to see the world. I've seen enough of it.
Well, I hope you don't mean that. Once a man has said that the world that he has finally exhausted the world, it truly means that the world has exhausted him.
I don't wish to leave my mother.
That's pure laziness on your part, dear. Oh, why, if I was your mother, I would send you off with Lord Illingworth right away, dear.
Miss Arbuthnot's compliments, Miss Lady Hunstanton, but she cannot see anyone right now. She has a mighty bad headache and is unable to talk with anyone this morning.
Oh, well, a bad headache. Oh, hopefully she can come by sometime this afternoon.
I'm afraid not this afternoon, Lady Constantine.
Well, then sometime tomorrow, dear. Oh, Gerald, if you had a father, he would not let you waste your life like this. He would send you off with Lord Illingworth right away, dear. But mothers are all heart, all heart. We give up everything to our sons. Oh. Well, Allenby, we must go. I am afraid Mrs. Daubeny has worsened over the night. Oh, the dear Archdeacon is quite a martyr for putting up with her. Quite a model husband, too. Goodbye, Gerald.
Goodbye, Mr. Arbuthnot.
Goodbye. What name can I sign? I, who have no right to any name.
Gerald, we're going to cut through your pretty garden, yes. Oh, and do take my advice and go with Lord Illingworth.
Au revoir, Mr. Arbuthnot. Mind you bring me back something nice from your travels, not an Indian shawl. On no account an Indian shawl.
Dear Mother, I've just written to him.
To whom?
To my father. I've written to him to tell him to come here at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
No, he shall not come here. He shall not cross the threshold of my house.
He must come.
If you are going with Lord Illingworth, go at once. Go before it kills me. But don't ask me to meet him.
Mother, you don't understand. Nothing in this world would induce me to go away with Lord Illingworth or to leave you. Surely you know me well enough for that. No, I've written him to say...
What can you have to say to him?
Can't you think? Can't you think what I've written in this letter?
No,
Just think what must be done in the next few days.
there is nothing to be done.
I've written to Lord Illingworth to tell him to marry you.
Marry me?
Yes, I will force him to do it. The damage that has been done to you must be repaired. Atonement must be made. Justice may be slow, but in the next few days you will be Lord Illingworth's lawful wife.
But Gerald,
No, Mother, I will force him to do it. He will not dare to refuse.
but Gerald, it is I who refuse. I will not marry Lord Illingworth.
Not marry, Mother.
I will not marry him.
Mother, this marriage, this necessary marriage, this marriage which for obvious reasons must take place, will not help me, will not give me a name that is rightfully mine to bear, but should help you that my mother, however late, becomes the wife of a man that is my father. Surely that means something.
I will not marry him.
Mother, you must.
You talk of atonement to have been made. What atonement can be made for me? There is no atonement possible. I am disgraced. He is not. It is the usual history between a man and a woman. It is the ordinary ending. The woman suffers and the man goes free.
Mother, I don't think that's the ordinary ending. At least I hope it is not. But your life at any rate shall not end like that. The man shall make whatever reparation is possible. It is not enough. It does not wipe out the past, and I know that. But it should make the future better. Better for you, Mother.
I refuse to marry Lord Illingworth.
I implore you to do what I ask.
What son has ever asked his mother to do such a hideous sacrifice? None.
What mother has ever refused to marry the father of her own child? None.
Then let me be the first then. I will not marry Lord Illingworth.
Mother, you believe in religion, right? And you brought me up to believe in the same religion. Well, surely the religion that you taught me when I was a boy must tell you I am right. You know it. You feel it.
I do not know it, nor do I feel it, nor will I stand before God's altar and ask such a hideous a mockery as a marriage between me and George Harford. No, no church hallowed, state maid shall ever bind me to George Harford. It may be that I am already too bound to him already, who robbing me, yet left me richer, helped me find the mire of my life and the pearl of price, or what I have thought it to be so.
Mother, you make it terribly difficult for me by talking like that. Why can't you look at this matter from the right, the only proper standpoint? It is to take bitterness out of your life, to take away the shadow that lies on your name. This marriage must take place. There's no alternative. After the marriage, you and I can go away together, but it must come first. It is a duty that you owe, not merely to yourself, but to all of the women. Yes, all of the women in the world, lest he betray more.
I owe nothing to other women. There is not one of them to help me. Not one of them in the world to whom I would go to pity for, if I would ask it. Or sympathy, if I could win it. Women are hard on each other. That girl last night, good though she is, fled from me as though I was a tainted thing. She's right. I am a tainted thing. But my wrongs are my own, and I shall bear them alone. I must bear them alone. What am I to do with other women who have not sinned and them with me? We do not understand each other.
I don't understand you now.
No! Men don't understand what mothers are. I am like any other woman, except for the wrong done me and the wrong I did. And my very heavy punishments and disgrace. To bear you, I had to look on death. To nurture you, I had to wrestle with it. Death fought with me for you. All women must fight death to keep their children. Death, being childless, wants our children from us. Gerald, when you were naked, I clothed you. When you were hungry, I gave you food. Night, day, all that winter long, I tended to you. No office too mean, no care too lowly, for the thing we women love. And oh, how I loved you. Not Hannah, Samuel Moore. And you needed love, for you were weakly, and love was the only thing that could keep you alive. For love is the only thing that can keep anyone alive. And boys are careless, often without thinking, give pain. And we always fancy that when they come to man's estate, and know us better, they will repay us. But it is not so. The world draws from our side, and makes friends with those we are not friends with, and amusements from which we are barred, and interests that are not ours. They are unjust to us often. When life is bitter, they blame us for it. When it is sweet, we do not taste its sweetness with them. Gerald, you made many friends and went into their houses. And I, knowing my secret, did not dare to follow, but stayed behind, closed the door, shut out the sun, and sat in darkness. What was I to do in honest households? And my past was ever with me. And you thought I didn't want the pleasant things in life? But I tell you, I longed for them, but did not dare to touch them, for I felt I had no right. And you thought I was happier working amongst the poor? That it was my mission, you imagined? But where else was I to go? The poor do not ask if the hand that smooths their pillow is pure. Nor do the dying care if the lips that touch their brow have known the kiss of sin. And it was you I thought of all the while, Gerald. I gave to them a love that you did not need. I lavished them in a love that was not theirs. And you thought I spent too much time in church and churchly duties. But where else was I to turn? Church is the only place where sinners are made welcome. And you were too much in my heart, Gerald. Too much in my heart. For though day after day, at morn to evesong, I have knelt in God's church, and I have never repented of my sins. How could I repent of my sin when you, my love, were its fruit? Even though you are bitter to me now, I will not repent. I do not. You mean more to me than innocence. And I would much rather be your mother than to have always been pure. Don't you see? Don't you understand? It is my disgrace that has made me love you as I do. It is my dishonor that has bound you so closely to me. It is the price I pay, the price of soul and body that has made me love you as I do. Oh, don't make me do such a horrible thing. Child of shame, be still child of my shame.
No, Mother. I did not know you loved me so, and I'll be a better son to you than I have been. You and I must never leave each other, but I can't help it. You must marry Lord Illingworth. It is your duty.
No! Oh, you shall not! That would be the real dishonor, the first you have ever known. That would be the real disgrace, the first to touch you. Leave him and come with me. There are other countries other than England, less unjust lands. The world is very wide and very big.
No, not for me. For me, the world is shriveled to a palm's breadth, and where I walk, there are thorns.
It shall not be so. We shall find somewhere with green grass and fresh waters, and if we weep, we shall weep together. Have we not both loved him?
Hester!
Don't! You cannot love me unless you love her also. You cannot honor me unless she is holier to you. And all her womanhood is murdered. In her house we are all stricken.
Hester, what should I do?
Do you respect the man that is your father?
Respect him, I despise him. He is infamous.
I thank you for saving me from him last night.
That is nothing. I would die to save you, but don't tell me what to do now.
Have I not thanked you for saving me?
But what do I do?
Ask your own heart, not mine. I've never had a mother to shame, let alone save.
He is hard. He is hard. Let me go away.
No, mother, forgive me, please, I am to blame.
Don't kiss my hands. They're cold. My heart is cold. Something has broken it.
Don't say that. Pleasure may turn a heart to stone, riches may make it callous, but sorrow cannot break a heart. Besides, what sorrows have you now? You are more dear to him than ever. And dear though you have been, and dear you have always been. Oh, be kind to him.
You are my mother and my father all in one. I need no second parent. It was for you I spoke, for you alone. Oh, say something, mother. Don't tell me I found one love to lose another. Oh, say something. Don't say that. Mother, you're so cruel.
Has he indeed found another love?
You know I have loved him always.
But we are very poor.
Who being loved is poor? No one. I hate my riches. They are a burden. Let him share them with me.
But we are disgraced. We rank among the outcasts. Gerald is nameless. The sins of the parents should be visited upon the children. It is God's law.
I was wrong. God's law is only love.
Gerald, I cannot give you a father, but I have brought you a wife.
Mother, I'm not worthy of either her or you.
And then she comes first, and you are worthy. And when you are away with her, think of me sometimes. Don't forget me. And when you pray, pray for me. For we should pray when we are happiest, and you will be happy.
You don't think of leaving us.
Mother, you won't leave us.
I might bring shame upon you.
Mother!
Oh, for a little then. And if you let me, near you always?
Come out with us to the garden.
Oh, later on.
A gentleman to see you, ma'am.
Say I am not home. Say I will not see him. What can you have to say to me today, George Harford? There is nothing to be said. You must leave this house.
Rachel, Gerald knows everything about you and me now, so some arrangements must become of that. I assure you, I will be the most charming and generous of fathers to Gerald.
My son may come in at any moment. I saved you last night. I may not be able to save you again. My son feels my dishonor strongly, terribly strongly. I beg you to go.
Last night was excessively unfortunate. That silly Puritan girl making a scene merely because I wanted to kiss her. What harm is there in a kiss?
A kiss may ruin a human's life. I know that. I know that all too well.
Well, that is not of importance. What is of importance today, as of yesterday, is still her son. You know, I am very fond of him. And odd though it may seem to you, I admire his conduct last night immensely. Him taking up the cudgels for that pretty brood with wonderful promptitude.
You do not have any propositions, do you?
Oh yes, I have quite the proposition.
Well, no proposition of yours interests me.
Well, according to our ridiculous English laws, I can't legitimize Gerald, but he can have my property, which, of course, Illingworth is entailed, but is a tedious barrack of a place. He can have Ashby, which is much prettier, Harborough, which has the best shootings in the north of England, and the house in St. James Square. What more can a gentleman require in this world?
Nothing more, I am quite sure.
A title is rather a nuisance in these democratic days. As George Harford, I had everything I wanted, but now I have merely everything others want, which is not so pleasant. Now what I propose is this.
I told you, no proposition of yours interests me. I beg you to go.
He is to be with you for 6 months in the year, and with me for the other 6. That is perfectly fair, is it not? You can have whatever allowance you like and live wherever you choose. As for your past, no one knows about it except me and Gerald. There is the Puritan, of course, the Puritan in white muslin. But she couldn't tell the story without explaining to me that she objected to being kissed. And the women would think her a fool, and the men would think her a bore. And I needn't tell you that Gerald will not be my heir. And I have not the slightest intention of marrying.
You have come too late. My son has no need of you. You are not necessary.
What do you mean?
That you are not necessary in Gerald's career. He does not require you.
I do not understand you.
Look into the garden. She loves him. They love each other. We are safe from you, and we are going away.
Where?
We will not tell you, and if you find us, we will not know you. You look surprised. What welcome would you have from the girl whose lips you tried to soil? From the boy whose life you have shamed? From the mother whose disgrace comes from you?
You have grown hard, Rachel.
I was too weak once. It is better that I have changed.
Then why does our son write to me?
I suppose you think men have different views of life because they know it too young?
Yes. I was young once, but we men know life too early.
And we women know life too late. That is the difference between man and woman. What were you saying about the letter?
Yes. And why does our son write to me?
What do you mean?
It is addressed to me.
That is nothing. Give it to me.
And in Gerald's handwriting.
I forbid you to open it. Now give it to me.
It belongs to me.
No.
He
wrote it this morning before he saw me. He is very sorry now, very sorry. You are not to open it. Give it.
My name is on it, so it belongs to me. I suppose you have read this.
No.
But you know what's in it.
Yes.
I don't admit that this boy is right in what he says. I don't admit that it's any right of mine to marry you. I deny entirely. But I am ready to marry you, yes, I am ready to marry you. To treat you always with the deference and respect due to my wife. I shall keep that promise.
You have made that promise to me before. and have broken it.
I will keep it now to prove to you that I love our son as much as you love him. And I may have to give up ambitions, if any ambition is high.
I decline to marry you, Lord Illingworth.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Do tell me your reasons. They would interest me enormously.
I have just explained them to my son.
I suppose they're in this letter made by our son, this beautiful, passionate letter, to why you should decline to marry me.
It was not I who made him see it, but another.
What fond and siècle person?
The Puritan, Lord Illingworth.
Then I suppose there is nothing left for me to do here.
Nothing.
It is goodbye, isn't it?
Forever, I hope this time, Lord Illingworth.
How curious. You look as if you looked the night you left me 20 years ago. You have the same expression on your face. Upon my words, Rachel, no woman has ever loved me as you have. You gave yourself to me like a flower I could do anything I wished with. You were the prettiest of playthings, the most fascinating of small romances. 1:45. I must be strolling back to Huntington. Don't suppose I shall see you there. I'm sorry, I really am. To be amongst one's own rank and treated quite serious to, one's mistress and one's...
He would have said it. I know he would have said it.
Hello, Mother. You never came out to the garden, so we came to fetch you. Mother, have you been crying?
Oh, my boy, my boy, my boy.
But you have 2 children now. You let me be your daughter?
Would you choose me as your mother?
You of all women I have ever known.
Hello, Mother. Whose glove is this? Have you had a visitor? Who was it?
Oh, no one. No one in particular. A man of no importance.
Woo!